Welcome back to Midday Kentucky. Benchmark Mortgage is one of the nation's fastest growing mortgage companies. And joining us today, we have our guest, Marty Preston. Thank you for being here. He is with Benchmark Mortgages, and he's also the certified mortgage planner and branch manager. Thank you for joining us, Marty. I appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
You know, when we were talking on the break, too, Doug and I are actually looking at getting pre-qualified right now for a loan. So I thought it was really interesting that you were here. I couldn't wait to pick your brain about this. But can you, first of all, can you explain to us what the difference is between a pre-qualification versus a full approval for a loan?
Absolutely. So a lot of people, you hear things like Rocket Mortgage and all that. So you can go online and put a few things in and tell people what your income is, tell people what your assets are, and they'll do a quick pre-qualification, which just means they run all that information through a computer software that says everything checks out. Now, the problem is the difference between a full approval is a full approval means you give me your tax returns, you give me your pay stubs, you give me your bank statements and things like that, and somebody actually reviews all of those things to make sure that the numbers check out. It's very often that someone's income, especially like someone who's self-employed, the income that they tell you is a little bit different than the final income, because sometimes they'll tell you the gross number, which is before taxes and before expenses and things like that, whereas we're oftentimes operating off of a net number after taxes. So it's very important to go ahead and get a full approval to make sure that you know that you're really qualified as opposed to a pre-approval or pre-qualification.
That's interesting, something that you just said. You said something about Rocket File or something like that. There's all these smaller companies out there. I was unaware that when they say you're approved on these smaller things, that you can just go straight out. But you're saying there's a more in detail that you have to go. What is it that you're looking for when you look through that pre-approval, apart from affordability?
Well, main thing is that's it. You're wanting to make sure that they can afford the house that they're looking to buy, that they have the assets, the down payment, things like that. What we do that's a little different than most is we actually work with each individual client to make sure that not only they're approved, but the loan that they get is the perfect loan for them. So like we were talking before, there's VA loans for veterans out there. There's FHA loans, which is primarily for first-time home buyers. But overall, there's over 50 different varieties of loans, and about 80% of all the loans tend to fall in one category.
Gotcha.
We try to make sure that each client gets the best one for them as well.
Okay. So what does, I mean, we were talking about the full approval. What does the client actually have to do? What kind of materials and what kind of information are they going to have to provide to the bank in order to get that full approval? Yeah,
so the main thing is income verification and then asset verification. So beyond that, we have to prove you have insurance, and we have to have an appraisal, and then we have to have title work. Those things come after you find a home. Up front, you want to provide full income verification, which is typically a tax return. A great example is a client may make $85,000 a year, but they travel a couple of times during the year for their job, and the company doesn't pay for those expenses. Well, those expenses can be written off on your tax return.
Right.
So if you spend $5,000 because you went to 2 conventions in Las Vegas, and you write that off on your return, then your income's no longer $85,000, it's $80,000.
Gotcha.
On a pre-approval, no one would ever know that on a pre-qual, but on a full approval, we would be able to catch that and
problem.
make sure. Absolutely.
That's
you don't want to find that out the day before closing.
Yeah, I was just thinking that to myself, because there are a lot of people out there that, especially in our business, that go away and do things like this, so your income does look lower. What sets you apart from other mortgage companies?
I think what I said before, I think the main thing that we do is we work with each client individually. So every client is different. Some clients are buying their first home, they've saved up, they have very little down, and they're worried about that. Some clients just sold a house and they have $150,000. We work with each client individually to make sure that they get the perfect, customized, tailored loan for them.
Well, we appreciate you coming in, Marty. All the information that you give us is always great. Benchmark Mortgage, there's all the information there, 859-967-1777. And also there is the web address. We appreciate you. Hey everyone, Alison Davis.